Right, these are not scary.
Right.
We've been chatting for the last 3 hours.
Yes.
It's kind of like that.
Okay.
But you've got one of them pointing at you now.
Right, okay. And I'm in the right place.
You are in the right place, definitely. Okay. My goodness. So, I'm here in Bristol and I'm a little bit starstruck. I am honest. Okay. I'm here with the lovely Jacqui Furneaux, who is a well-known motorcycle traveller and the author of this book, Hit the Road, Jack, which I'm currently more than three quarters of the way through. I've only got a tiny bit to go, so
where are you up to?
I'm up to here. So no spoilers, okay? Because I want to know how. I want to find out how it ends on my own.
Oh, I know where you are. Yes.
So that's where I'm up to. And a few weeks ago, I reached out to Jacqui through the joys of social media, just to tell her how much I was enjoying reading her book. And Jacqui kindly replied, much to my surprise. And we've just been having a little chat about her diaries. And Jacqui very kindly agreed to let me come over and see her and have a look through her diaries. Now that was about 3 hours ago. And we've had an ice cream.
Oh, well, that was lovely.
We've had a wander around Bristol. We've had a cup of tea. And I've had a look at some of the diaries, which I could literally spend 2 weeks going through. And I suddenly realised the time. And I should probably actually start chatting to Jacqui. So a little bit of background, if you've not already read this book, and I do highly recommend it because I am loving it currently, is that Jacqui spent 7 years with no plan, riding a Royal Enfield 500 Bullet.
That's right. Around
20 countries. And you start off very early in your book saying that you believed motorcycles were noisy, horrible machines.
That's right.
What happened?
Well, it was the very hot summer of 1976. You're far too young to remember that.
I was 4, I think.
Okay. Well, it was never ending and very, very hot. We hadn't had rain for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it was that sort of humid heat. It was lovely, actually, in looking in hindsight. But it was very difficult to keep cool, and at that time I had 2 small daughters. And I was trying to keep them cool in a plastic paddling pool in the back garden in a suburb of Bristol where we were living. And it was just so unbearably hot. And my then husband came home from work. He used to come into the city on a Honda 90 or something like that. And he got home and I said, "Oh, I'm so hot, I don't know what to do." And he said, "Well, why don't you have a whiz around the streets on this little motorbike?" And I was a nurse and I'd been working on the casualty department at the Bristol Royal Infirmary, seeing people scraped off the road by people such as yourself and brought in and, damaged sometimes beyond repair. And I said to him, "No, I'm not getting on a motorbike. They're nasty, noisy, dangerous things. I'm not getting on that." Well, eventually he persuaded me, and it was so easy.
Was it one of those little step-through ones?
It was. Yeah. It was one of those. And I said, "Well, how do you make it go?" And he said, "Well, you just do that to go, and you press on that pedal to stop." And I said, "All right then." And it was in the days. I don't think you had to
have a helmet and license and stuff.
I think I borrowed his helmet. We might have put an L plate on the back. I'm not sure. Can't remember. Anyway, off I went, and that was it. And
the air hit you, the realisation dawned, and he thought,
"I love this.
This is a thing."
So straight away, we upgraded to a 125, and I used to go down to Weston-super-Mare I think it was a Wednesday night, where my brother-in-law was an instructor. He taught me how to ride properly. And so I passed my test. And in the days where the examiner would just jump out into the road in front of you,
go, stop.
And if you could stop,
if you didn't fall off, you passed.
That's it. And didn't run him over. And then you just had to answer a few questions on the highway code, and that was it.
Wow. And then literally in 2000,
yes,
you decided enough's enough. You had a lot of life changes going on at the time, and I'm not going to give it away because you have to read the book. But you went through a lot of things that made you decide, I need to do me now, and I'm just going to free myself with absolutely no plan.
That's right. I went backpacking, and I thought that would get me away from the situation that I was in, and I had quite liked the life. And then I met somebody who was doing what I was doing, only instead of using buses and trains, was using a motorbike. And I thought, why didn't I think of that?
Get places quicker.
Absolutely.
So you ended up in India.
Yes.
Which is where you bought your Royal Enfield Bullet.
Yes.
From a dealership in
Chennai.
India. And it was brand new.
Oh, yes.
And you then spent 7 years basically with that bike. And you had obviously a huge, steep learning curve because you did everything on that bike yourself. To start with a little bit of assistance from whoever you were travelling with.
Yes.
But by the end of it, you're performing surgery on that bike.
I wouldn't say I could strip the engine down and on my own, but
you were having
I
the
didn't
carb
have
off,
to
you
do
were doing
that.
daily adjustments to everything.
Yeah.
You worked out
daily maintenance.
You worked out, because it was coughing and spluttering, and you worked out that there was water getting in, or the air mix wasn't right.
That's right.
Did you know anything about bikes before you did this?
No. I didn't even know you had to change the oil, I'm ashamed to say, because up until that point I'd had Japanese bikes, and every spring I would ride it to a mechanic and say, do whatever you have to do, and then I would collect it and ride it.
And it would be done.
And it would stay in the garage all winter. I didn't even know what they did.
Incredibly empowering.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing that did teach you a lot about what you were capable of.
It did. I had to do it, and when I was travelling with Hendrikus to start with, he made me help. He said, you must learn how this motorcycle works, and I found out that it was not so dissimilar to the human body. Actually, you've got the fuel, you've got the respiration, and
stuff goes round and round.
That's right. You have to keep filling it up,
definitely,
and maintain it. And so I learnt the basics on maintenance and repairs. I used to go to bed with the manuals instead of a reading book.
Wow. And you spent a lot of the time when you were travelling, you say you didn't have a plan, so you obviously had a map and go, I'm going to go there next.
Well, when I was travelling with Hendrikus to start with, it was because I wasn't used to even making decisions.
Yeah.
I found that really difficult, so I was quite happy to follow him around wherever he went. I was really, really happy, and he was lots of fun, and there was no time restraints.
Love that.
I'd been used to, as a nurse, being on duty at a certain time, and then I had children and getting them ready for everything on time. Everything had to be so organised, and I had to be organised, and it was just so refreshing to, let's stay here for the day, if it was a nice place, and there was no, come on, there was nothing like that, which was such a lovely change for me.
Absolutely.
And I
embraced it.
I haven't really changed since then, actually.
So we did speak earlier about how something like this, a 7-year trip like you've taken, it's not even a trip, it's not an adventure, you spent 7 years changing your life basically, and that lots of the things that you've learned en route must have stayed with you.
Well, it did become a way of life, yes, and I learned to live in the moment. I had something to eat and somewhere to sleep, which was pretty haphazard a lot of the time. And the bike was all right, as long as, and there was always petrol available. If not, I bought some jerry cans to put on the bike in case I was going somewhere where it might be a bit less easy to find. As long as I was all right and the bike was all right, I had nothing else to think of. So, and it did make me live from minute to minute, because you don't know what's going to happen in the next minute. There might be a river to cross. There might be a sudden storm, or you might suddenly find yourself on a boat where the skipper wants to kill you. You just don't know.
You need to read that bit in the book, it's quite insane.
Or you you might run into a truck, or a truck might run into you, and so you just don't know what's going to happen.
Speaking of not knowing what's going to happen, you had a broken leg.
Yes.
Twice, I think. What was it? No, the first time was a definite break, and you had ended up with metal and pins and God knows what.
But that was fun in the end.
It was fun.
It was. I lived with a Pakistani family of comedy actors, and you don't expect that, do you? So
you had tummy bugs. You had all sorts of stuff go on whilst you're abroad. I mean, did that not scare you at all?
No.
Did you not have moments there where I'm so ill, I just want to go home? I'm just going to leave the bike. I'm just going to do it.
No, that never crossed my mind. I did sometimes think, what am I doing this for? After sort of the 5th year, I think, well, what am I doing this for? And it has its own routine, and it can be quite aimless.
Okay.
It's not the... Yes, it is adventurous, but some of it can be quite...
So it becomes a routine in its own
it does.
thing,
yes.
Basically.
You look at the map in the morning, I think I'll go there. Oh, that looks interesting. Oh, that's a wiggly road, I might go that way. Or, oh, that's an interesting place name, I must go there. Quick decisions.
Incredible. And you're saying about you just find somewhere to stay. It's really apparent in the book about how you just got talking to people in a petrol station or by the side of the road selling mangoes or something, and you'd end up staying with these people a lot of the time, which I think is incredibly brave, but you didn't feel scared at all.
No, that's one of the things I learnt whilst I was away is most people are very trustworthy and don't want to do you any harm, and just want to help a traveller.
Want to pay it forward.
Yeah,
I guess.
And I think it's in our nature to help people.
And some of the countries you went to that you'd been warned about could be dangerous or, for terrorist activity. And so Papua New Guinea was one that you were warned about.
Oh, yes.
But you found it wonderful.
Oh, it was amazing, yes. It was at the time when I was there quite tribal. I'm sure it still is. And there's so many different languages. The different tribes can't communicate with each other, so they're suspicious of each other. So there's sometimes
tribal
a bit of argy-bargy. So we were told to be very careful. But
so you mentioned that there was an atmosphere sometimes that you kind of were aware that it could kind of kick off, but it
only in one place, in the capital, and that was a bit edgy.
I think is a good word. Good word.
But once out of that, it was wonderful everywhere.
Wow,
enjoyed that stay.
Now, apart from your travelling companions who you sometimes travel with, sometimes you travelled on your own, you also had romantic ideas about finding a travelling pet to take with you. And you started off, I think, with a bird, which didn't go quite so well, did it? Yeah,
I thought I'd found the ideal pet in Australia. I'd found a bird flapping about in the road on a track somewhere, and I thought, the nursey bit of me came out. I could rescue this bird because it looked fairly okay, apart from a broken wing, and I thought, well, I can put a splint on there over the weeks, it'll repair. And I had visions of it sitting on my handlebar, and it was going to be my pet. So that night, I was sleeping out at the time, and I found this picnic area, and I slept underneath the picnic table, and the bike was next to the picnic table, and I thought, well, I better make sure the bird doesn't run away, so I tied a bit of string around its leg, and I put it in a little bag, and it seemed quite happy in a little cotton bag. And so I attached that to the picnic table and went to sleep. And in the morning, I remembered as I woke up that I had a pet bird. I thought, I wonder how it is. And I went to find it in its little bag. It wasn't in the bag, and I followed the string, and I found a leg and a foot, but no bird, and something had come along in the night, and a lot of feathers, and had eaten my pet bird, and I felt so dreadful. I cried. I know it's funny now,
It's the way you describe it in the book. I literally, because I would do that. I would look for a pet. I would look for something. I'd adopt something random like a pet.
I was looking for a little kangaroo because unfortunately there's a lot of roadkill.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, and I did start to look at corpses of
see if there was
females to see if there was a little one inside, and I didn't, because I thought that would be ideal. Because I actually met somebody who'd made a bag, had found a joey,
papoose,
and put it in this bag on a motorbike and was riding around with it.
They get quite big though, kangaroos.
Well, I didn't think that far ahead.
You'd be riding shotgun on the back.
So no, this bird was going to be the thing. But
didn't work out.
Didn't work out at all.
But you also had other wildlife interaction, and you you inhaled a spider.
Oh, God.
And wrote a letter home in your last moments. Oh my God! Putting a spider in your mouth.
Yes, I was travelling in the outback, and as you know, in Australia,
everything kills you.
Wants to kill you. So I was quite careful. No, I wasn't careful at all. Who am I trying to kid? So I was camping out, and I had a 5-litre jerry can of petrol attached to the crash bar on one side of the bike and the 5 litres of water
sensible
on the other. And I would just siphon out some water into my enamel mug and make a cup of tea. And in the morning, I would revive the fire and make another cup of tea. And so I'd siphon out the water, and this morning, a particular morning, as I siphoned the water out, I felt something else go into my mouth, and then I felt this sting on the back of my tongue, and so I obviously spat it out, and I watched it was only a little pinky brown spider walk away, and I thought, Lord, I'm in Australia.
This is how it ends.
So I thought, well, I did think it didn't have a red back, so I thought, well, it's not a red back, and it didn't look like a black widow. And so I thought, right, and all this time I could feel my tongue getting swollen.
Oh my God.
So I thought back to my nurse training days when we did a bit of first aid. And I thought, oh, you can do a tracheotomy, can't you?
You were prepared to do your own trache.
I did. I got my knife
and a biro.
I thought, because I was miles from anywhere, I probably wouldn't be found if I died. So I thought, well, just in case I am ever found, I'd better say how I've died.
Yeah.
In case they think I've been murdered or something. So I wrote in my diary and I said, I've just been bitten on the tongue by a spider. I don't think it's poisonous, but I don't know yet. It's made my tongue swell up because I was writing to my daughters.
We're talking 20 something years ago. You didn't have access to phones and GPS and whatever that we've got now. You can't do a video call. No. So to do what you were doing then makes it even more kind of challenging and admirable. These days you can go on an adventure, but it's not really an adventure if you've still got kind of access to everything. You're not cut off at all. At any point you can go, can I have the AA recovery? You know, not what you were experiencing, which was literally a spanner and a broken bike.
It was in the very early days. I did have an email address.
You had a phone, but you lost it. Is that right?
Well, it sort of went missing when I stayed at a police station.
Yes. Oh yeah, you said about some of the places you stayed that were trustworthy and warned you about kind of thieves in the area. One of the hotels, but then helped themselves to the cash you'd got.
Yes, they did. That was very disappointing, actually.
That is, and yet families or people you met on the roadside will give you their last kind of bowl of rice if they thought it would help you out. It's weird, isn't it? Who you can trust and who you can't. But you paid your way wherever you went, didn't you? So this is the thing about you saying you stayed with people for a couple of days or you went on this hellish, it sounds like, boat trip. You paid your way by painting the hulls and fixing the motors and doing all sorts of things in order to get passage, basically, from one place to another.
Well, it was me thinking, oh, how lovely that would be to sail through the islands of Indonesia to Australia, which was what the skipper was aiming to do. And I made it quite clear I wasn't interested in anything but a business arrangement.
Absolutely.
And so I paid half the expenses.
Yeah.
I did half the work, and I had my own little cabin, so that's all right. Measured up the transom, the bike would just fit in if I took the front wheel off. Put the front wheel up in the up in my cabin, and I think it's 3-4 months it took to get this boat ready. And of course, the more time I spent on it, the more invested I was in it, and I had already spent a lot of money, done a lot of work. So even when I saw warning signs,
I thought too deep.
I'm not going to give up.
Yeah,
not going to give up.
And you are a determined lady, and I think the person you were travelling with was probably like, I think I've bitten off more than I can chew with this one. He was probably hoping you were going to bow out.
I don't know what he was thinking. Well, I do know what he was thinking. Anyway.
And that's the sort of thing that have clearly made you the lady you are today. Quite determined and headstrong and comfortable in your own skin.
Well, I am now, yes.
But then part of that must have been spending 7 years questioning everything.
It must have had an effect.
Yeah, definitely. Now, your beautiful bike, did you ever give it a name?
I'm ashamed to say I didn't. But it is Bike.
Bike. I know you grew very attached to it.
I'm extremely attached to it.
And you kind of make reference how it started off as I and the bike, and then it ended up as we. And you became one with this Enfield. For all the difficulties. But there was one part where you just very briefly, you developed, I think there was other things going on, but you developed an irrational fear for the bike at one point, and I can't remember where it was, but you just suddenly had that kind of, you don't want to get on. And I completely get that, and I'm surprised it didn't happen more often than it did.
Oh yes, I know what you mean. I had gone to Ecuador, and I hadn't been to a Spanish-speaking country before, and all of a sudden there I was in Ecuador, and I got the collie wobbles and couldn't move out of the hotel where I was robbed. Yeah, and then. I remembered that there was a website called Horizons Unlimited, and so I went next door to the internet cafe and found it, and it's a huge website, and I found somewhere where you could ask a question, and I said, I'm stuck in Quito, is there anyone that would like to travel with me or for a little while until I get my confidence back? And what happened was that the owner of the website, Grant Johnson, he and his wife Susan started this website for motorcycle travellers, and he replied personally to me. He said, "Don't worry, we all get the collie wobbles sometimes. Even Susan and I have from time to time." He said, "Just look at what you've already done and where you've already been and what you've already coped with. You'll be absolutely fine." Yeah. And somebody else contacted me to say, "Oh, I know somebody who owns a petrol station in Quito. Walk down there and say you know me, and they'll help you." And so just knowing that there was somebody in the city, and I walked there, and I said, "You know, I'm a friend of this person." They said, "Oh, well, yes, we remember him. If you can get your bike here, we'll give you a tank of petrol." Wow. So I thought, well, that's how I can start again. So that got me moving. And I was fine after that.
Yeah. Now your bike, it's currently having a little rest, isn't it? In a museum.
Semi-retirement.
Semi-retirement. Do you think you'll ride it again?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you take it out for shows and special events?
I will do, if I'm invited to one.
If you're invited to one, well, I can't imagine you're not. But so which museum is it currently in?
It's in a museum in Devon, and the name of the town is Moreton Hampstead.
Moreton Hampstead.
And it's in Moreton Hampstead Motor Museum, and it's a lovely museum. It's only on loan, and so the owner says I can take a bike out whenever I like, as long as I give him some notice.
We'll have to take a visit. Is it how you left it? Dust and all? Or did you polish it up?
I rode it down on a very wet day.
So it's
So it's
literally
probably
as
still
it is.
got mud
With
all
all
over
the
it.
dings and
Absolutely.
kind of it's still got all the panniers with the countries written on. And
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. All the other vehicles there are in nice shiny condition and all the chrome is sparkling. Mine's there with hammerite on the crash bar. And,
Looking a little bit well loved.
It's very well loved and very well travelled.
Absolutely. How many miles did you do on it in the end?
Well, I'm not quite sure because
lot.
I had to change the odometer
Okay.
in New Zealand, and I add the two together sometimes. And then add a bit because there was quite a few times when it wasn't working at all. So I
guess a bit.
No idea.
Yeah, finger in the
About
air.
Somewhere between 85 and 90,000 miles.
80 to 90,000 miles.
Something like that.
Wow.
It could be anything.
That bike has earned a retirement, hasn't it? Really. So what's now? What's happening?
On Friday last week, I took possession of a new bullet.
The new 350
Yes,
bullets?
the Royal Enfield.
Royal Enfield.
Bullet
Staying with Royal
350.
Enfield.
Absolutely.
Staying with Royal Enfield 350 bullet. And have you managed to get out on it yet?
I rode it from Silverstone to my daughter's house, but I haven't ridden it since. It's here.
And you're enjoying it?
Oh, I'll say.
Yeah? That's a big smile.
Yeah, well, I smiled all the way even though it was raining.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
it's
brilliant.
nice.
So are you going to take this one on a adventure?
Yes, in fact the maps are out on the kitchen table as we
Oh.
speak.
You're allowed to say where you're going?
Heading for Corsica
Corsica.
and Sardinia.
Very nice.
And then to Spain. I'm doing a circular route.
I did actually ask Jacqui how long she was going for on this trip, and she pointed out as long as she likes.
Yes.
Because you've got no time constraints.
Lucky me.
I love that. I think that's brilliant. And these diaries, which I'll do a little shot of in a minute, are your personal account of everything that you went through. And they're absolutely incredible. They're like little scrapbooks of the journeys and the countries that you went through and the people you met, and some of them contain bits of fabric and all sorts of stuff. If you had to go back to one of them...
What a question.
I know.
Couldn't choose.
That good. All that good. Is there any way you wouldn't go back to?
No.
That's amazing. Well, Jacqui, thank you so much. It's been
thank you for
really
coming. It's
nice meeting
lovely
you.
to have you.
And I'm sorry
No.
I've taken up so much of your
That's
evening.
all right.
When you've clearly she's got maps and visas and God knows what else, planning and stuff to do, and a very typical bike pile on the floor with kind of bike kit. I will show them the bike kit with kind of like, right, I need that and I need that and I need that. Exactly how I pack, that is.
Well, that's the only way, isn't it? Because you have a think, I mustn't forget that.
Yeah.
I'll put it down now
in the pile.
before I forget.
Yeah. This is Jacqui's I'm preparing to travel pile. Look at that. That's literally every biker I know who goes and travels will have that. Look, you've even got your toolkit ready.
Yeah, I've got a spanner. Yes. Tent's in there. The sleeping bag isn't there yet.
The tent. You're going to be camping.
Oh gosh, yes.
That's amazing. You should never give up camping.
No.
It's a thing.
That's sort of a first aid.
What do you use for your tent, out of interest?
Oh, this
Which
is a
one have you
new
got?
one.
The Coleman.
I had the other one for 25 years. I never get rid of anything.
This is what you lived on, isn't it? Yeah. And you're going to Sardinia.
Yes.
Yeah. You're taking.
You know that hadn't occurred to me.
You're taking sardines to Sardinia.
That's quite funny. I hadn't realised, but you're
Oh
right.
dear. So this is Jacqui's book, Hit the Road Jack by Jacqui Furneaux. It's available. I think I got this one on Amazon, or somebody might have sent this one to me. But I'm going to get you to sign this.
Oh, are you?
If that's all right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's fine.
And all it makes me want to do is get on my bike and go riding. So that's what I'm going to do soon as well. Absolutely.
I would recommend it to anybody.
Absolutely.
Don't be scared. People are lovely everywhere you go.
They really are. And it gives you faith in humanity.
Oh, absolutely, it does.
Definitely. Well, thank you. I'm going to drink the rest of my tea and you can crack on with your wine.